Okay, welcome to Codio Challenge 6.5 Fibonacci Sequence. In this challenge, we will pass you the variable n, and you will write a program that outputs the complete Fibonacci sequence for n iterations. So, if you're not familiar with the Fibonacci sequence, it's just adding each number and then shifting over to the right. So, here you go 0 plus 1 is 1, 1 plus 1 is 2, 1 plus 2 is 3, 2 plus 3 is 5, and so on until in this challenge, until you go through this 10 times. And as you can see, I've already done this challenge, so the input I know is 10, but you might be asking yourself, why is there 11 numbers here? Well, the reason is there's 10 iterations. So you know there's 11 numbers, there's actually 10 iterations. So 0 plus 1 is 1 iteration, 1 plus 1 is a second iteration, and so forth. So there's actually 10 iterations. So if you're asking yourself why you have 11 outputs, well, it's 10 iterations. So to start this challenge, what we need to do is create two variables, and so we'll call these variables number 1 and number 2, and we'll just start out number 1 equals 0, number 2 equals 1, and then what we'll do from there is create a for loop. So we'll say for I in range of n plus 1. Now remember, n is the variable they're giving us, and as you know from previous videos, when you're doing the range function here, if you do not add a 1, it will not include the n. So to get we know this number is 10, so to get the number 10, we know we have to add 1. So you always add 1 to that variable to make sure you include the variable. So that's why we have the plus 1 there. And then we're going to create the if statement. If I is less than n, print n1. Okay, so that's the first part of this statement, and then we're going to create the else statement. So we'll say else print n1, and the reason for that is we're going through this iteration n times, and as long as each iteration is less than the n variable, we're going to print n1. And when we break from this loop, we're going to conclude by printing n1. So that's why you have the else print n1 instead of the else print n2, because the only number we're going to print for our loop is the number n1, and the reason is that's the number we're changing and moving and changing and moving and changing and moving. So to do that shifting, what we have to do is we have to create a third variable. Otherwise, if we don't do this, we'll just keep printing the same number. So to create that third variable, we're going to say n3, that's the third number, equals n1 plus n2. Now that doesn't fix everything, because now you're adding n1 and n2, so you've created your third variable, but now we have to do the shift. And by that, what I mean is we've got to keep shifting over. And so to do that, what we're going to do is say now n1 equals n2, and n2 equals n3. And so the next time it goes through the loop, Now N1 is going to be 1, and for the second time around, N1 is going to be 1. N2 is still going to be 1, because you can see here we've said N2 equals N3. Well, N3 is N1 plus N2. 1 plus 0 is 1. So now N1 equals 1, N2 equals 1, and the next time it goes through this loop, it'll print 1. So first time it goes through the loop, you can see it's going to print 0. The second time it goes through the loop, it's going to print 1, and it's going to keep adding, printing, adding, and shifting over each time. So that's what we've done here, is we've created the shift so that it actually moves with each iteration, until finally it will get to the point where the I is no longer less, the iteration is no longer less than the range of 10. So that is how you complete this. So let me just go here and hit the check button, make sure it's working. Yes, it's working, and that's it. That's how you do the Fibonacci sequence. And just remember that you have to include these changing variables here to make sure that each time it goes through the iteration that it will continue to shift. So you're only printing out this one, but you're changing that each time you go through the iteration. And thank you for watching, and see you on the next video.